Home is Where the Dark is supported by and produced at Stygian Sound, a music production suite specializing in producing, mixing, and mastering dark and heavy genres. Stygian Sound offers a collection of instruments and equipment that has been carefully curated and refined to offer you exceptional tools to capture your perfect performance. Have your raw multitracks mixed with distinctive taste. Have your mix fine-tuned with a world-class hybrid master. Visit alexcrescioni.com today for more details and to book your slot now. Thanks, Daddy.
Welcome, Whitney Tai, to Home is Where the Dark is. Thank you for coming by, and I appreciate just your energy and your kindness just from our conversation since you got here. So let us know how your past few shows have gone.
Hi, Alex. Thank you for having me. It's really nice to be here. Loving the studio. Loving the vibes.
Thanks.
The last few shows were really invigorating for me, especially after the last few years of being locked down and not being able to perform as regularly as I was, and being able to perform with people that I really admire, not just as friends, but as artists. So we put a quick little tour together. Mm-hmm. We hit up some of my favorite spots, San Fran, San Diego. We did an LA show, and it went really well.
What were the venues?
We played at Bottom of the Hill in San Francisco, and we did just like a home show at the Hotel Cafe.
Okay.
And then we played down in San Diego at Soda Bar.
What was your favorite one?
You know what's funny is that I didn't think it was going to be the home show, but Hotel Cafe and I think Bottom of the Hill were like a close tie. But I would say because we sold out the Hotel Cafe show and there was just so much heat in that room. It was like...
Literally?
Yeah. So it just felt really good. And I felt like a lot of love and high vibrations that night. And once you start performing again, you start getting into that groove again, and you start all that anxiety starts to shed away. But what I liked about the San Fran show is that it was nerves were high. I haven't performed with my buddy Kelsey in a long time, and we were doing a duo black tie set. And when we get on stage together, it's like fire and ice. We're so fucking electrifying up there, and it's we just get each other's energy, and when we're up there, we can really just tap into whatever we're feeling in that moment. So I think that first one also has a core memory woven in there.
I've never been to Hotel Cafe. For all the years I've been around Hollywood, growing up, I moved to Hollywood when I was 18 for music school, and I'd always heard about that place. I've never been. So how do you like the venue? Because I know it's very popular for singer-songwriters. What do you feel about it?
I love this venue. I've played there numerous times, and it reminds me of a venue in New York called Rockwood Music Hall. It's kind of like the LA equivalent of that venue. It's the one venue that really takes pride in indie and mainstream artists alike, and they'll put Colby Calais on stage one night, and then the next night a local artist. So you really get exposed to, and you see the myriad amount of talent in LA in one place. And it's just the stages are warm, the sound is really great. The people that do sound there just have an affinity for detail. And so
that's great to hear, because that's not always the case.
No,
right?
It's not. In my experience here, it's been very little the case. So
yeah, when you just brought up Colby Calais, I totally forgot about her, but I remember some of her biggest hits were so good. I want to ask you what kind of, obviously you're a singer-songwriter, but are there specific genres of that you prefer? I know you do pop, but I mean, someone like Colby Calais, for example, do you like her kind of style of music, or do you like the more of the darker side?
I appreciate her music. I would say that what I listen to in my private time is a lot darker.
Yeah.
I grew up listening to a lot of for instance, my favorite band when I was 14 was Kill Switch Engage. I liked heavy rock. I grew up on Pink Floyd. I like dark textures. I like a lot of British rock. So it's for me, I'm kind of always searching for interesting chord progressions and strange textures and sound design, things that make me feel like it goes in between reality and a dream. That's kind of the way I look for that.
I'm so similar. I'm obsessed with, like you said, textural sonic textures and soundscapes that bring you to like another planet, basically stuff that just feels otherworldly and ethereal. So I can totally relate.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it has to be. I think like if you're somebody who appreciates melody and composition and just spatial awareness, I think you need to, like you said, after a certain amount of time, you start searching in the in-between for things that words can't describe and feelings that you can't get from just like an everyday encounter. It's like the stuff that no one talks about, secret closet stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are some of the earlier records that I obsessed over that the emotion like coming out of the speakers that they captured in like there's certain records, like some of the earlier metal stuff that I'm obsessed with, like some of the earlier Korn records.
Oh,
and
yes.
I don't know, just like there's a certain thing about music that it can emit a feeling or project a notion that there's no way you can create that with words or conversation. So I think having that sonic palette to know like, okay, well, I want this texture, I want this kind of this dark synth, or I want this kind of atmosphere, like just having that preference, I feel like it can really open up your capability to produce a feeling that you want to get across to somebody that you can't necessarily in words.
It's true.
So,
and you know, when you're writing music, whether doesn't matter what genre it is, you know, you can write dark pop songs, you can write dark rock songs, you can write, and when I say dark, I don't mean like it has to feel haunting. Like it's just dark in a sense of like going to the unknown, you know, going to places that are unexpected and that make you feel sensations that I don't know, that are kind of this tesseract of nebulae that are just like kind of stimulating you in a way that you're like not getting in just the regular day to day. But for me, I think I'm always searching for what that is, like what's that in between, and that's what keeps me going in music.
Absolutely. I love that. How do you conjure those kinds of emotions when in your songwriting? Like, what's your process? Do you sit down with a guitar? Do you like have a vocal melody in your head, or how do you go about your songwriting?
It's always different. I think it just depends where I am, the mood I'm in that day. You know, I used to write a lot just from my mind. I used to just like come up with orchestral things in my head and then try to lay it out. This is like before I was even doing music like full time as a career. I just always trying to find ways to document the sounds that I was hearing. And that's how I started like composing when I was little. I would grab a keyboard and just, you know, get basic things down so that I could get the ideas out. And then as you grow, you start to learn other instruments and how to like keep layering and growing as a songwriter, and how to keep tapping into like, I just had this conversation with one of my favorite ambient composers the other day. His name's David Helpling. And it's like, you start to look at instruments not as instruments, but as tools to allow you to make experiences.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Even with your vocals, you know, like I'm kind of over that thing of like, oh, I got to be so technical when I'm singing, because I can do the technical thing, but I would rather use my instrument as something else, as like a portal into another way of communicating with someone. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of fun to do that.
So when you were first starting, like so did you use like piano? Like what instruments did you use to get your ideas down, like from in the beginning?
In the beginning, before even piano, I would record myself on like a little cassette, just different melodies, lyrics, things like that. And then I had like a shitty little Casio, like when I was a kid, and I used to play like classical pieces on there because I really love classical music. And then I kind of steered away from instruments for a little while. My dad was trying to beat me over the head to play guitar, and I wasn't interested when I was younger. I just wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to do figure skating. I was like very into like art form of dance and interpretation. So I wanted to explore that. And then as I got a little bit older, I started to get reinterested back in songwriting and playing guitar again. So it just kind of was where I was at in my life. I needed to like let all the trauma out of my body, and dance was kind of the way I was able to do that until I could come back to myself again.
Gotcha. I haven't really heard an explanation of like, because a lot of people when they start songwriting or they start, you know, music at a young age, usually it's like with it's like piano or guitar, but it's like, it's cool that you experimented with different things and like different ways to get your ideas down. So fast forward to today, what are some of your favorite ways to get down an idea? Is it still like whatever you're feeling, or are you leaning more towards like, are you finding yourself, going to a piano more or a guitar more or just singing, or what is it?
Guitar.
Guitar.
I've been leaning to guitar a lot. And I think it's because guitar for me I've never seen the guitar as just a guitar. Like for me, I love stringed instruments. Like I'm a big cello freak and I love violins. So like you'll hear that a lot in my music, but there's something about strings individually as mechanisms that they hold so many frequencies and sounds. And so like even within one note, you can find a myriad amount of color
harmonics.
That you can't. Yeah, the harmonics. Yeah. And I've just been really enjoying just exploring the fretboard and just looking at it as an object that it is and kind of breaking it down a little bit backwards from the way I used to work. Because now I'm like making all the connections. I'm like, oh crap, that's why I did this. And that's why I chose these melodies and why I went from this note to that note. So it's like learning it backwards is kind of a strange thing.
Yeah.
People don't usually do it, I don't think, that direction.
I think that's awesome because, like a lot of people, they'll start with theory or reading music and then they become creative after that. But I kind of, similar to you, I went the opposite. Well, I learned piano when I was young, classical and like reading music and all that. But I kind of was reluctant because I was more of a creative and I didn't really care about theory as much. I ended up going to music school and all that. So I did learn it, but I don't use it anymore. Like it's just, I feel like once you get to a point where you hear something in your head and you know how to put it out on an instrument, and maybe that idea was a C harmonic minor scale, but you're not thinking that. It just comes out that way, and then maybe later you'll realize, oh, that was a C harmonic minor, but you're not thinking it. It's just how to, after a certain point, how to get that idea out, and you're not really thinking about the theory or the scale or what chord it is. But if the time comes where you need to transcribe or you need to like write something out for a band member or something, then it's like, and you can go and rediscover it. But I'm totally that way. I'm more about the creative, getting the feeling out and not really focusing on the technicalities.
I have this conversation with my producer a lot because he's classically trained and he learned theory and he did the whole thing. He went to rock school even and like learned how to compose for many different genres. And it's just interesting that even he, like with all his experience, will still sit down at the piano and just play like this beautiful seamless composition. And he doesn't know, because he's kind of thrown away theory now. He can't hold on to it anymore because what it does is it limits, it puts him in a box.
Right.
And so now when he makes choices, it's really from pure emotion and it's not from the theory. But it's not easy. Not many people that are classically trained can do that. It's why a lot of singers that I've noticed that have studied classically have a hard time finding the artist in their voice versus the technical in their voice, because they're just so set on making sure everything, they're kind of trained that way to sound robotic. And for me, singing has been therapy. It hasn't been a way to like prove myself to anybody. I don't care if you think I'm a great vocalist or not. I care if I'm making you feel something. And if I'm not making you feel anything, I'm not doing my job as an artist. So
yeah, totally. And I feel that in your music and in the way like you conduct yourself as an artist. Like you're very about, this is my perception, you're very about the art and how you relate to it, and you put out what you're in love with sonically, and if the world loves it, great. If not, whatever, you're doing it for you. And I can see that in you. So I think it's great that you have that mindset.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's talk about a little bit with the collaboration with Beauty and Chaos over the years. And I know you have that awesome track, Orion. Yeah. So maybe just let us know a little bit about that process, like writing with Michael.
Michael's amazing. It's very seldom you find collaborators who's as open and accepting and just really parades the artists themselves. Like whoever he handpicks or cherry picks, selects for his songs, he does so with a sense of care, you know. And so like when he hands it to you, when he hands that beautiful track to you and you get it in your inbox, you're like, wow, like this person's entrusting me with something that they put a lot of love into. And I can always respect that, because it's never easy handing off something that you take a lot of pride in, and seeing what someone else turns it into. So
Yeah.
when I got the track from him, I was just blown away, because I felt like in that moment it was speaking to something personal for me. And so it was like immediately I was able to just start writing. And because he and I think similarly sonically, I think I was able to just dive in with a concept that felt very natural to me, which is sci-fi and the cosmos. And the song reminded me of being in some sort of interstellar experience. And so I needed like a metaphor for like what that was in that moment. And it was, you know, just kind of tapping into like all the narcissistic people that were in my past, the people that are around us now, not even just globally, not just the people interpersonally, but like how narcissism and gaslighting has become this demonic like overlay on the world, and no one can see through that kind of membrane. It's like, it's kind of wild. So I was like, you know, the only way out of that membrane is to just puncture through and not become part of that membrane, because you don't even see it happening sometimes. You just dissolve into it and you're like, who am I? Am I this person now? But that was what Orion was about. And I felt like the music lent itself to that, you know, the words and the melody. I wanted to do something that was snake-like through his composition. I didn't feel that there needed to be these really big highs and lows. I felt like it needed to be this constant build into this explosive sort of release where you're like, I'm finally free of the chain that's on top of me. So
love it. Yeah, I love the lyrics, and I love like the different notes you're hitting at the end, or like belting like the higher notes at the end, and like you said, the way you kind of like serpentine through the song. Like I think it sounded amazing, and like I really enjoyed working on the remix with Sin too. So
it was so good what you guys did.
Thank you.
I loved it.
And I really love what you said about the idea for the lyrics about like the gaslighting and all that. 'Cause I think pretty much everybody can relate to having experienced that at some point in their life with you know, a family or a significant other or so. That's so good. It's totally relatable.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead. I don't know. It's just like one of those songs where like, even when I hear it now, I'm just like, it still feels so relevant to me, like as a topic, not even just a song, you know, like this, the lyrics are something that you can apply to anything that's going on. And then it provides some sort of solace to like deal with how to navigate that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. How was your experience shooting the video for Orion?
It was a lot of fun, but I'm going to tell you, like, the day we filmed was the day after my dog passed away.
Oh.
And I was like, how am I going to drag myself into this studio and do this when I literally lost like my life, my heart, like, you know, so like that was tough. But I was like, I got to channel everything I have into this video, like all the passion and love and for my music. And it'll be a keepsake of, you know, that moment, a timestamp of like me overcoming something difficult and being able to still do what I love and not let it stop me. You know what I mean? It's just like, you don't know how you're going to react in different situations.
Yeah.
But love can sometimes just lend you the strength to keep marching on.
Yeah, I think that's like something to think about as well, is because it's like, as a musician, as a professional, there are times when something tragic happens in your life, and maybe you have, you know, something very important scheduled the next day or, you know, during the week, and you have to decide like what to do in that situation. I think, you know, a lot of people might want to just call in, can't handle it. But I have noticed with certain, like, once you get to a certain level, it's like, look, I'm a professional. I can't let everyone down. You know, this has been scheduled, and as hard as that might be and as difficult as it might be to perform at your best, like, you still show up. So I think that says a lot about you and your character as a musician. And I admire that, because it takes a lot to do that, and not everyone has that quality. So
I've had a lot of practice, I guess. And that's not a good thing. It's, you know, but it is a good thing and it's not a good thing. But I think I've been able to, all I've ever had to do in my life is channel trauma into strength. And sometimes that can bite you in the ass because your body now associates like, oh, I got to keep rolling this ball and bigger, and like, but the stuff that's in the ball is still fragile and kind of delicate. So however that tumbles, you got to just make sure that at some point you stop moving and you just look in on yourself and try to find a way to take care of your heart. But filming with Michael was amazing. What I loved about that video is that a lot of it was green screen. So like we had to pretend we were in this multiverse, and then in post it was done. But like, you know, you could see it in the doc, literally kind of the comparison between us up against a green screen. Then all of a sudden we're in like, you know, the outer space on a chessboard. So it's like, it was really cool to like put yourself there mentally. And it was helpful during that time with me going through that thing. Cause I was like, I can imagine a beautiful space and place where we both are, you know, that you're still here with me. And like, so it was nice.
Wow. So I know like you've done so much music so far in your career, but maybe let's talk a little bit about you mentioned earlier you have a new single coming out.
Yeah.
So what's the name of it and when can we expect it? And is there a music video? And just give us some info on that.
So I've been composing like a series of acoustic songs that are going to be part of a future acoustic album I'm going to release, whether it be at the end of the year or the beginning of next. But I'm kind of taking my time with it because I'm enjoying this process so much. But it's going to be the first album that I will be playing the instruments myself, and I will be producing it myself. And
cool.
You know, and maybe like partially engineering it myself. So I'm kind of like throwing myself into something that I may not have done before, just because I sort of entrust the most gifted people to record and do all that stuff with me, because it's outside of the landscape of what I know. So right now I'm kind of grassrooting it and doing stuff that's really minimalistic, but like very personal and intimate, and is very emotional, and it's like a task I'm giving myself. So I'm going to keep releasing these series of singles, one of them being Pisces Rising, which is going to come out on the 19th of May.
Cool.
And it's a short song, but it's like very meditative and ethereal, and I won't give too much away, but I feel like it's kind of like being in like a planetarium, and it's like almost like feeling like if you closed your eyes and then you opened up and you looked, and maybe the 360 cyclical motion of the earth and the stars, and just like having someone next to you telling you a story. So I want all these songs to kind of feel like we're in a room together and we're stargazing, and it's
like intimate and cosmic at the same time.
Yeah.
Love it. Wow. And so you said you're engineering this yourself. Are you using Logic? Like, what do you like to use?
I like Logic.
Yeah.
It's a logical program. I just like it. The layout is great. It's easy to record stuff. Like I just, you know, I'm one of those like bohemian people who like to like stay away from technology when I'm creating. But I've noticed as I've been getting into production over the years, like that resistance to the tech is kind of like melting away. And I'm actually like gravitated towards like the freedom to be able to like not just track it on like a external sort of thing and have it there and then wait for someone else to interpret it for me. Now I can just do it myself and have more hands-on control, which I really like. So I've engineered this song, recorded my guitar parts and my vocals, and I recorded my friend Kelsey. He did some backings on this song with me, and my partner Tim Jansen's mixed it.
Cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, Logic is very intuitive. I feel for me it's one of the most intuitive DAWs to use. Like if you're coming in cold, like it's very streamlined. So yeah, I use Pro Tools, but I have used Logic in the past and I really enjoy it. So yeah, what other events do you have coming up? Any shows? I noticed on your site you have something in May. Let me bring that up for a second.
On the 1st of May, I'm doing a Monday night at Hotel Cafe, which is where they invite like over 10 different like songwriters to like do a couple of songs. So it's like a showcase.
Cool.
I'm planning on probably putting together some more shows towards summer. I'll probably be doing like some solo acoustic things up until then, but I'm trying to put together a larger show again for in a few months from now, and some music. I'll be filming music videos and making lots of art content and finishing my other album, which is like the follow up to Apogee.
Yeah, you got to keep the keep the creative juices flowing, keep the songs coming, like the content. Like that's the thing. Like we, as musicians in this day and age, it's like we're forced to put out content, and sometimes it's not as natural for certain people to do that consistently. Like I've definitely had to work on that. But yeah, I think that, the fact that you're constantly working on your music is great, because I think I've seen a lot of people like go in spurts. Like they'll get creative and they'll do a lot of stuff, and then they'll maybe like, disappear for 6 months or a year and then come back. But you seem to be consistently working and doing shows and putting out content. So I think that's great.
It's not easy, I and you know it too, because we're all artists. So it's hard to kind of wear all the hats and run around and then have life happening at the same time. So yeah. I think for me, because I've always been an artist and I've always worked as a designer and I've always been doing creative direction, that like I need to do it. It's like part of my DNA, and I can't, when I'm not creating, I feel like I'm not in my own body. And so I need to like make something every day. And I told my friend this, I said, even if you just write one line a day, if you write something in a notebook, it is something to keep the wheel turning so that you don't become stale, or you don't lose your drive. You don't have, not everything you make has to be great. It doesn't have, you can make shit too, and it's fine.
Totally. Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's, as a songwriter, I think it's a great practice to write something down every day. Like you said, it could be a line, it could be a full song, and it doesn't have to be good. Just the fact that you do it every day. Like all, songwriters, Prince had like volts and volts of music that I never released because for whatever reason he didn't want to, but they're probably all great. But it's like every artist I feel does that. It's like, I don't know any artist personally that puts out every single freaking thing that they write. I mean, it's just a part of the process. So I think like when you said, writing a line a day is totally like a great practice. So any other, here's a question. Since you've been a singer songwriter for quite a while now, and you've been in the industry and you had your ups and downs and your different experiences, like what kind of advice could you give to an up and coming, female singer-songwriter who wants to do this professionally, like as a career? Like what kind of advice would you give her?
Well, that's tough, because now the landscape is very different now than from when I started doing it. And I feel like I started a bit late too. So I think my advice would be is to not consume the image or visage of what people are pressuring you to do. I think you have to stay true to your own voice. You need to find what makes you special and unique, and really hone in on that and be proud of that, because that authenticity is what's going to attract your people to you. And so I think it's all about community. It's all about connecting authentically with others, and we can't do that if we're chasing someone else's dreams or the vision of what someone else, or even just like the influence of what's going on out there. Because I think every artist, including myself, has the pressure of like, this person's doing this and this person's doing that, and I'm over here and they're over there, and it's like this constant comparison game. And when you get stuck in that world, you lose complete sight of everything that you're doing. And like for me, I have to keep reminding myself, why did I do this in the first place? Why did I choose this life? Why am I making art? Is this something I would do? And if not, I'm abandoning ship, because I don't want it to become a job. I want it to stay the passion. I want it to stay the fire that keeps me excited to get up every day. And I would just say, be authentic, and only work with people and attract other people around you who share those values as well.
Yeah, and that value you, and I think that's beautiful. Like everyone's journey is different, so it's really hard to see other people succeeding, or see people that maybe have more of the career that you want and compare yourself. But it's like the worst thing you can do, because you're only you're only who you can be. Like, you're individual, you're unique. Everyone has their own unique artistic expression. So once you lock into that and just accept, okay, my journey is my journey, and I'm in control, but I can't compare myself to everyone else's journey because that's theirs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So, okay, I want to ask you, I'm going to try to do this on every episode, but I'm starting with you. So if you could tell me about one of the darkest times in your life and how you overcame it and how it made you the person you are today.
I think most of my fans kind of know this about me already, but for those who don't, and maybe this provides a little bit of solace to anyone who's going through this right now, my darkest moment would have to be when I was a little girl. I was probably 10 years old. But my mother was diagnosed at that time with like a very advanced form of cancer, and she had a very difficult battle with that cancer. And I think the hardest day out of that whole period was when she passed away in the bedroom of my house upstairs. And I basically, my darkest memory was crawling up those stairs because my dad told me to come say goodbye. And I literally had to crawl up the stairs, and I could feel, it's like a bad dream, when you're trying to run away from a monster, but your legs don't work and you're just you're complete mush. And I just remember my body melting away, and I was crawling up the steps, and just to see her there in my house, in my family house, it never left me. And I think that always just, it made me very grateful to be alive and to have life, and how short life is, and for a 9 or 10-year-old to have to understand what life means in that gravity at such a young age. It forecasted the way I've seen and pursued things for the rest of my life. So I would say that was my darkest moment, and really because she was the biggest light in my life and everyone else's life. And when a light burns out too soon, that deserves to keep moving on, that's another layer of pain,
Yeah. So how did you use that experience to, as strength? And I mean, I can see you're a very, very strong person, to have gone through that and to use that as, a way to, become the person you are and to succeed, in your passions in life. So how do you feel it has transformed you into the person you are today?
I think realizing the fact that you are literally a grain of sand on this, less than a grain of sand on this universe, and that even being that small in the comparison to how big everything is, you can still make such an impact and a domino effect in everything around you. And I think knowing that power, but also that humility at the same time, it just makes you see the world through a different telescope. And I think that knowing that love and that wonder and that magic can exist even when you're just this little tiny microscopic speck in the grand scheme of a floating rock in the middle of the universe. I just think that's really beautiful. And it's we're sitting in this room now. We were literally, before we were even born, we weren't even a figment of someone's imagination, and we can be here in this space talking with one another and sharing our stories and inspiring one another. And I think that is also something that keeps me going, is people, is the beauty of people and what they bring to you and how they make this lifetime worth living.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. That was very, it's a vulnerable state, but I really appreciate you sharing that. And I know a lot of people are going to listen to it. So thank you for that.
Thank you. So,
okay. Before we wrap it up, do you want to plug anything, or you want to chat about anything else you have going on?
Sure. One of my songs from Apogee is going to be in a movie this month. It's called Morgan's Mask, and the movie was made during the lockdown, and it was about mental health and depression during COVID. So it's a kind of a video game-esque cosplay like styled movie, and it looks really cute, and I love the scene and the way they incorporated our song into the movie. So that'll be out on Amazon Prime and Apple TV and iTunes on the 28th. And I have a new single, as we spoke earlier, Pisces Rising, that comes out everywhere on the 15th of May. And I have a single coming out with Kelsey Warren of Black Emoji and our project Black Tai. It's a cover of a Low song that we really, really love. And we decided to like kind of approach it with a very like dark dream pop sort of anthemic vibe. So that'll be out on the 28th as well of this month. So
Great. Love it. So everyone go check out Whitney Tai. And yeah, thank you so much for coming by and having us chat and opening up. And I really enjoyed everything you had to say. And I'm glad I know a little bit more about you. So yeah, everyone check out Whitney Tai. Thank you so much.
It's an honor to be here, Alex. Thank you.
Thanks.